All right, guys, in this edition of Fit Rockstar Show, she is sensational. She is one of a kind. She's something that we've not seen in women's bodybuilding in a long time. She's a Chicago Pro women's bodybuilding champion. She is Muscle Geisha. I probably said that wrong. Angela Yo.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You're looking lovely. You're looking ripped. You're looking ready to
Thank
kick
you.
ass.
I feel good.
You look good.
Thank you.
And you've come a long way.
Yeah, it's been a 16-year journey.
16 years.
Yeah.
Not 3.
No. I mean, I started lifting in 2006. Started competing in 2013. And just this year, switched from physique to women's bodybuilding. Well, starting last year in my off season. But yeah, talk about delayed gratification.
Right.
Like, this has been almost 2 decades of work, yeah.
I mean, you're really passionate about the sport. Now, how long ago was it that you had this horrible accident, the motorcycle accident?
Oh, wow. That was 2008, actually.
Were you training before that or no?
Yeah. I mean, I had gotten hooked back in 2006. A lot of people kind of thought, well, this, the physique came from the accident and it changed me. Like, no, it helped get me through that accident. That was, basically Buick cut us off. We ran into the end of that Buick at about 75 miles an hour and
Oh, wow.
changed our life pretty much forever. Let's see, I had, there's a gash on my head that was closed by about 25 staples. My jaw was wired shut. My pelvis was cracked, so I had to have like an external fixator with big pins coming from the outside in to hold it in place. That was the second time I broke my foot too, so I had pins just coming out of everywhere and a lot of metal, a lot of recovery. They kind of shave your head to get to your injuries, so when you come out of the hospital, you are looking really, really rough. Definitely a weak point. Definitely could not have gotten through that without my family. And then knowing that, my husband, who was driving the motorcycle, was in worse condition than I was, you are completely dedicated to getting better and getting back to that person. We couldn't see each other for about a month.
Oh, goodness.
So, our family would come and check on us and check on him. And, at least we had cell phones. We could message. But when we finally saw each other after all of that time, I can't even express, just the tears and the joy that we had survived it. He was broken beyond belief. Way worse than I was. He took the impact of the car and my body.
Oh, my gosh, wow.
And nearly died. They brought him back, and we do get to reflect on that as a couple. And nearly dying together isn't something that a lot of people can say. Gives us a lot of perspective and just a level that I will never have with another human being. I'm very grateful for that.
How did you guys meet?
We met through the art and music scene in Toledo. He was a little bit of a celebrity. He was running the music label, record label that a lot of my friends were on. Always at the galleries and whatnot. Great after-hours parties, and I was an after-hours girl. And we just kind of met at the right time. Both of us were going through probably the worst point in our lives way before the accident. Huge breakups on both ends.
Sure.
For the better. I was coming into the relationship with no car, no job, no education. I had literally nothing but the clothes on my back. It was, I didn't have any debt, but I didn't have anything. I didn't really have anything. And he took me off the street permanently, I guess you could say. And I realized that because I literally had nothing, that this person really loved me for exactly who I was. I thought I had all of this work to do, to become something that was worth maybe even marrying one day. But after the accident, it was that January, he got down on a knee and proposed. And I just remember thinking, like my heart just exploded because I thought I still had all of this work to do to be the person that I thought would be right
Right.
or better or somehow much more complete. But he has never really cared about me being more than I am, and the growth that I've had. I mean, we got together when I was like 18, 19. I'm 38 now.
Wow.
So
Wow.
he let me be whatever I wanted to be. Never pushed me to go anywhere, be anything, and he really let me choose. So when I basically had nothing, and all of these years later, he's really watched me choose my path in these different ways, and never encouraging, never guiding, but just clearing the way, which I think is super special because he has never really done the work for me. You can't do that, but you can help in ways that clear the path and take care of a little bit here or provide a little bit of that, and that has made me who I am.
I think that is so special because you don't really, and I've seen you guys together and you can just tell he's so in awe of you and he thinks the world of you and he's obviously your biggest fan. And so we don't have that a lot in our sport because, as you know, people don't understand what we go through in the training and the diet and the craziness, the mental aspect.
Yeah.
What is the secrets you would give other people who are in relationships and may not have the best of relationships? What is the glue that keeps you guys together?
Well, I mean, when I got into my competitions, because we had, so little as far as resources, I made it all count. I made my choices very strategically, and I went all in on it. So I showed that what I was doing was going to be with my whole heart. I wasn't going to half-ass anything. And I showed by doing, but also he is the kind of man that is, he's like, well, what would I be if I didn't support my wife? So to him, it doesn't make any sense. He's like, well, why wouldn't I support you? Why wouldn't I, help you book hotels, help you figure out flights, and, help you get going? Because, I mean, obviously my track record was good, but we didn't know that. I mean, I guess we started knowing that on the first show, but, we had no way of knowing. But he saw how invested I was, and that really came from him to see that was what I was choosing, and whether for a short time or what it was going to come from. But I mean, I remember thinking to myself, if I could be anything in the world, I would want to be a personal trainer. If I couldn't fail at something, I just wanted to train people. And that's the tiny little space that I was coming from. Of course I did achieve that, but I mean, I set my goals all in line with what I wanted to do, and he's been good with advice, and I mean, that's just kind of what comes from him, is that he sees how much I love it, and he sees how much it pours back into me, how much I find myself, and as a significant other, you hope people see that. It's so hard to communicate what we do that, hopefully the other person will see it, and you can't make them see it, unfortunately.
No, you can't.
But when you prove it with the actions that you take and your choices, sometimes it's a matter of time to have them come around, but it's hard to say.
He's funny. He's got the best hair I've ever seen in my life, and the best beard.
Yes, he is an icon. He's
an icon.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a very important question.
Sure.
You ready? What does bodybuilding mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I know you're very.
Let's ask the hardest, most deep question. Bodybuilding is everything to me, yes, but it is how I find out who I am. I knew that everything I was meant to go through, everything I was meant to learn about myself and even about life was going to be down this path. That is the gut instinct that I had about it. When I first experienced a state of flow in bodybuilding, that was what got me hooked. And that was the deepest sense inside myself that it was the right thing to do. So to follow it to the end, especially after it had saved my life over and over again, like coming from that nothing and building something, you know, working through struggles with drugs and alcohol, depression, you know, major psychological and physical issues. I will always be loyal to it because it has saved me so many times. And that's also how I connect with people, how I help other people. Like, I give back through this. So it is deeply spiritual in that way. So
I remember when I saw you in 2019?
2020.
2020?
2020.
Okay, 2020.
Warrior Games.
And the Warrior Games in New Orleans, and I was blown away. I go to a lot of shows. I've told you this time and time again, but I'll keep on mentioning the story because I go to a lot of shows, NPC, and it's been a very long time since I've seen anyone of your caliber. And when I say caliber, I mean like the conditioning, the shape, the art, because you have an art. You're very artistic when you're on stage, and you. It's beautiful watching you when you do your transitions and stuff. It's just, oh my God, I was fangirling. Who wouldn't? I mean, the whole audience is going crazy over you.
Thank you.
And from that moment, everybody's like, oh my God, this girl, she's, you know. And I know at the time you were thinking you competed in women's physique, right?
Yeah, that's where I went pro.
I was like, hell no, man. She needs to go in women's bodybuilding, which, you know, everybody was saying that. Now, who is your coach now?
My coach is Brandon Ray.
Oh, he's got a lot of great people under his belt.
Yeah, that's a whole story.
Yeah.
In itself.
How did you guys? How did that? Tell me the story with.
I'd love to tell that because it is actually a lot longer than it seems. He had seen me at nationals, and he had some clients competing, and he reached out to me in between prejudging finals with a couple of tips on posing.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
Now, this is not someone that was like reaching out to try and scalp me from my other coach. It really took me aback because I'm like, this guy's got people competing here, and he's taking the time out just to help me for no other reason than to help me. And so that was when we first started talking. And I mean, that left an impression, of course. And then as you and I got to be friends within bodybuilding, I knew I needed another coach because IFBB is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
And I'd asked you, who'd you recommend? And you said Brandon Ray or John Meadows. And we know that John Meadows has passed away. And I remember being at his funeral thinking, like, this is a done deal. But from November till literally the next November after my win, till the November year after my win, that whole year was just a messed up year. And I kept thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna hire him, I'm gonna call him, and I would message here and there, and then we would try to set something up, and then I would just think, I need like 3 more weeks to get myself together. I need 2 more weeks. No, I just need another month. I'll pull all this together. And I could never pull it together because my body was fighting against me.
Oh, wow.
So when I finally realized it has been a whole year, I'm still a mess. Like, I just had to be like, I'm not bringing you the athlete you think you're getting. Like, this is what's happening right now. But I need to get through this. And if I don't compete, something real bad is going to happen between me and my love for bodybuilding or ever getting on stage again. I just knew. So he was extremely patient in that time. And, you know, finally when we did come around, it was kind of like we just kind of hit the ground running. So we started in December 21. And I wasn't ready to compete at first. I think he originally said Omaha, and I was just like, well, Omaha? I don't want to go to Omaha. Anyway, I wasn't ready to compete. Yeah. I wasn't ready, and both he and my husband had to I was just so nervous because I didn't know if I was actually going to survive a prep, and I'm not even saying that to be
When
like
you say
kidding.
survive, like,
I didn't know what my body was going to do next.
Okay,
I had been really sick in 21. I was experiencing for the first 6 months of 21, these episodes that would set me out for about 8 hours.
oh wow.
And, to the point where I feel like anybody else would have gone to the hospital for every single one of those, and it was happening multiple times a week. It was actually part of the reason that I quit the job that I loved. It was time to quit, but it was also like I felt like I was becoming unreliable. I had to spend so much time recovering from these things and taking care of myself that it was like I don't even know if I could do my job. So that was a lot of the things that I brought, and I was like, let's just start training first. Let me get a couple months, and then partly way through the year, there's not a whole lot of shows left. But I'm like, funny enough, in 2020, I was supposed to do the Chicago Pro as an amateur, and then go on to do the Olympia as an amateur because I wanted that in my life. 2020 changed everything because of COVID.
Sure.
Changed my entire game plan. Ended up, qualifying for nationals, winning nationals. But then, as we're coming around into 2022, trying to decide what we're going to do for competition, Chicago was there.
Right.
The show that I was gonna do 2 years ago. I do the Chicago, I win the Chicago, and now I'm going on to the Olympia as not just a professional women's bodybuilder that won my way there.
You won your way,
So
right? Didn't
the
earn
duality in that, I could not make that up. He's just been amazing. Such a deep understanding of the sport and just like an artistic mind, and he's got a lot of integrity. He's very strict.
Yeah,
you
so
know.
Brandon keeps it very real, as you
Yeah.
know, and he's very good at what he does. And when he sees something in somebody, he knows. So obviously he sees that you're something very special, which you really are.
He saw that a while ago too, and even with that year of me trying to find my way to get to him, he still accepted me after.
What was the hardest part of your prep for Chicago?
100% mental. I can't really even say that prep was hard. I know nobody wants to hear that, but I had been through so much in 2021 that I was like,
This is nothing.
cut my food, give me cardio. That it's nothing compared to feeling like I was gonna die
Right.
for 6 hours at a time. So I kind of had that fresh in my mind, is that as long as I wasn't having these episodes, I could just do anything. Training 7 days a week, multiple times a day was new because I'd always had a rest day before. So and then training in the evening was hard because then you feel like you are never done with your day. That was hard, but he was great. My
Did
family
the
was great.
Episode stop then?
I've been really lucky that I haven't had one in months.
Thank God. Yeah,
So
it just sounds-
that I was reflecting on the way here. I'm like, wow, that's a really exceptional thing for me. So
Wow. So let's fast forward and go to the 2022 Chicago Pro. You walk out on stage. Well, let's go backstage. How were the girls with you backstage?
everybody was great.
I mean, like, were some blown away when they see you? Like, oh my God!
I think I wasn't looking. I was
Just doing
so
your thing.
I just remember being when I knew I was getting into women's bodybuilding, all I wanted to do was bring justice and bring an amazing physique to this division, because that's what it deserved. So I wanted to be proud of what I brought and look the part, not just look like a hybrid, but look like I belong there. Backstage, everyone is so focused, but once we line up, if anybody has a question, everybody's helping. And I just remember being like I'm going up there with them.
Right.
Not I'm going up there, but we're going up there, and we are showing
That's a great
the
way to look
entire
at it.
sport what this is made of. Because I didn't know until, like a month or two before exactly how big Chicago Pro was.
Oh, yeah.
So when I chose it, I was like, oh, it's a big show, but it's a big show. So
Well, the reason why I asked is
Man,
because, look, if
yeah.
I was backstage competing with you and I saw you, I'd be like, you look amazing. Because, again, we've not seen conditioning like that. Like, I have not, in a long time for me, I've not seen someone with beautiful conditioning, beautiful muscle bellies, and just that flow. And again, with that posing, wow, it just knocks everything out of the park. So when you step out on stage, you hear everybody's reaction to you. What did that feel like for you? What was that like?
Wow, that was incredible. Even my husband was like, man, when you came out on stage, everyone's got their person they're rooting for, and then they stuck around for you, and they start cheering for you, and they're like, what's her name? Oh, and they just started like what is that? And that's what matters to me most, is someone being like, what is that? Like, that's your wild card for the day. And I mean, people were stopping me, and just looking me dead in the eye, like, it's you.
Oh, absolutely.
Go rest. It's you.
Right.
And I'm like, like.
You had so many pros after your win going nuts over you. Like, so much respect for you and what you've done and everything. And let's talk about this video that from the show.
Oh,
that's the most views ever. How many views was that?
Over 100,000. Over 100,000. And at last check, the male winning bodybuilder had like 18.
18, right.
And I just thought it was wonderful for the sport, because people were looking. No one of us could figure out where all of this was coming from, where the traction was coming from, and it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And I haven't checked it in a minute, but I'm ready to look back and see.
I just want to make people aware this is how special you are again, because it was such a great piece. The way you pose, your routine. You did that yourself?
Yes, every performance piece is mine.
How do you put your routines together?
I kill myself, because I don't mean it like that, but it's so important to me that it is my chance to touch people in the audience. If I can grab them and just wipe every thought from their mind for just that minute and 30 seconds where they just, and then they feel something, that is what I'm after.
Kind of sounds like Chris Angel, the mind freak kind of thing, right? You're doing that whole mind freak on people.
Just hypnotized.
What can we expect from you at this Olympia?
Oh my gosh.
What do you and Brandon got cooking? Come on, you got to tell us.
I mean, it's his job to strategize. I keep my foot on the gas. I drive fast. That's my job. His job is to strategize and to find out where my competition is, where we can highlight my strengths and make them even more dominant, and bring up anything that we haven't really had to bring much up, but it was more like, let's find, I won't say who, but a few bigger competitors.
Yeah, that's right.
And what can we do better? What is it that I have that we can do better? And we're going to work on that. I mean, we had this conversation like 2 weeks after Chicago. He'd already had it in his mind probably the day after, but
you've got some great size you've put on. How much muscle have you put on?
Oh gosh, I haven't really been stepping on the scale.
Smart.
Like 157 or so. Still not where I'd like to be, but
it's pretty good though. But I can tell looking at you, you've got a lot more size on you.
Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah.
You're gonna be kicking ass. So in your eyes, where do you see yourself placing in the Olympia? I'm gonna put you on a spot there. I see you. I'm gonna throw this out there because I can. For me, you're my dark horse with the Olympia. Just because you have something different that nobody's ever seen before, and the way you present, the pose, your conditioning is so beautiful. The straighted glutes, those shots you did with photographer Will.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Will came running back after that shoot. He was just, oh my God, you gotta see this. She was wonderful. I didn't have to say anything. They were beautiful. I saw them. They're great.
Yeah.
But your conditioning is just spot on. Like, you don't cheat on your diet, do you? You don't eat you eat very clean.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely did a diet plan. And no one's going to want to hear me say this, but I feel like I still could have done better. You know? But that's the last time I'll say that, because I did so well that there's no point in,
that conditioning was spot on.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe how well we nailed it together. Like, the first show, having never done a competition before, I mean, that's another one of those things where the universe is just pushing you, like, this is correct. These are the right things that you're doing. And for it to all just, like, come into focus like that was insane.
What is your goals with women's bodybuilding? What do you see in the future with you? What do you want to do? How do you want to promote it and all that kind of stuff?
Wow. I'm just so proud to be here. You know, these are the hardest working, most beautiful, full-souled women in any sport, as far as I'm concerned. It's amazing how much like we all stick together, how much we support each other, and I truly believe that the harder the sport, the tighter people are, and the higher you go, the tighter people are. So right now, I'm just really just focusing on the Olympia and making my kind of impact on the sport. To just, if I can be myself to the fullest extent, that will leave my signature. And that's what I'm hoping for the most.
Well, let me give you a compliment. I talked to Andrea Shaw, Miss two-time Olympia, yesterday, and she was raving about you because I brought up your name in a very good way, and she was very impressed with you.
Yeah.
She said you actually worked with her with posing.
Oh gosh, we went up to was it Anytime Fitness? Anytime Fitness, because they were holding a posing clinic, and then I saw the post come down that they were holding it, so I was like, oh, I happened to have her coach's number, and I was like, well, is this still going on? And he's like, yeah. But I get there, and I'm like, well, where's everybody else? He's like, she'll be ready for you when you're ready. So I think they probably knew before I did that I was going to be the only person there. So we ended up spending 2 hours just one-on-one.
Oh, how cool is that?
Another thing where the universe is like,
Sure.
aren't you glad you came today? Yeah. And it was just by chance that I was able to go. And she didn't cut the time short, you know, just because it was just me. Like, we spent the whole 2 hours together, and she worked me. She worked me hard, and I am grateful for that.
Well, she also works with Sydney Gillen, who's she's an excellent poser, too. But I am really looking forward to seeing you on the Olympia stage because, again, I truly think that you're just going to be bringing something that we have not seen. You're going to be bringing down the house. Hands down.
This will be fun.
Yes. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's talk about you and a couple of things outside of bodybuilding because I love it. Tell me about this Hearst thing you went to a while back. What is this? Oh, gosh.
Man, every year we go to Hearst Fest up in Michigan, and it's just like the biggest car show ever of nothing but hearses. And
Do you guys have a hearse?
No, not yet. But the house we moved into now has a place to park one, so one step at a time. But yeah, that's just like one of the things we love to do, just be around our creepy people that are into the same things. And, you know, usually there's like a couple expo booths with, you know, like the bigger names inside, like the oddities and like
I love stuff like that. So I'm all about that. It's fun.
You love our house.
Oh, really? Yeah. So what do you got? You collect? What do you collect? You have a lot of vintage stuff. The rosary I saw.
Yeah. Well, our most popular collection is the You Break It, You Bought It collection. I know it's silly, but
You Break It.
We actually ended up buying and collecting every bone that we broke from the motorcycle accident. So our house is like full of like big pieces of like pelvis, rib cage, scapula, you know, spines, foot, jaw. All the things. Like that's where we started. Like old medical. Of course, your beautiful crystals, Baphomet sculptures, Santa Muerte sculptures, religious relics is one of my husband's favorite things.
What's your most prized possession of religious relics that you have?
One interesting one is a rosary that I have from a special convent that actually holds the tears of the sister who took care of it, which is a really cool piece. I'd have to think about that.
That's a good one to ask, right? I know
That's one good one.
And so what other... So you have fangs. I've seen you with the fangs. So what's the thing with the fangs? Because I always wanted a pair of fangs.
Because I'm a monster.
You're a monster?
Because I'm just a monster, I think.
You guys finish your Halloween decorations? Or you're still doing that?
Well, almost. We do, man. With the new house, we now have the yard that we wanted to to decorate with. So it's like a full immersion Halloween thing. So we're still working on a few things, but it should be great for Halloween.
Tell me about Santa Muerte, which I know about her, but a lot of our audience doesn't. She's a great person for protection and all that good stuff, and luck and business.
Actually, my husband introduced me
Oh,
to Santa Muerte. And what interested me most was her care for what is definitely the fringes of society. You know, like you may have, like your gangsters, your prostitutes, your people who are maybe doing the things that they have to do to support their family.
Sure.
I also think bodybuilding is kind of a fringe sport with a lot of risks.
right.
So that she can, look out for me, but also she accepts all of these people the way that they are, and for all in return she wants is the loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And if you still have that spirituality and that faith, you can't just like pray to God while you go do this thing that could potentially be dangerous to yourself or others for reasons that a better off society may not understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I do know with the Santa Muerte, so it's interesting because she's actually there's different types of statues, right? For each one means something different, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Different colors, different.
I think I had a white one at
protection.
one point. Yes.
Yeah. Protection from violent death.
Yeah.
Oh.
I definitely need that. I travel too much, so there's always something happening. What do you also do in your spare time when you're not bodybuilding or training full time and all that good stuff?
I mean, that is definitely what I love to do with my time. I mean, we may, if we get out for a little bit of a nature walk, I absolutely adore going to historical cemeteries. That's just, I don't know. I think I just came to the realization this week what it means to me. It's not that I have a fascination with morbidity or really death, even with the collections and whatnot, but it is such a symbol of change, and that nothing will ever be permanent. Things always have to change, and to truly appreciate the moment that you're in and reflect on the fact that what you have now, good or bad, isn't going to last.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And you have to make peace with that over and over and over again in your life.
What's the oldest cemetery you've been to?
Oh, gosh. 1800s.
Have you been to the Savannah Cemetery, from that movie, The Garden of Good and Evil?
I don't think so.
What? What are you guys waiting on?
Where is that?
Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't think I've
you guys
there's
gotta
a
go
great
there.
one in Kentucky. Forest Hill Cemetery in Kentucky is probably one of my if you ever have hill or lawn or something in the name, it's usually like an arboretum. So they're beautifully manicured, maintained, beautiful trees, places people would go, to be in nature and reflect.
Have you ever seen a ghost? You ever felt spirits when you go to those places?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say I've seen anything, but you can't. I think that's kind of what keeps some people out, is that there is an energy, and you are going to be feeling something. You can't walk in and just be like, oh, that's nice. Like you're going to have to face something in yourself. It's a very quiet place, so it's going to be quiet. You're going to be quiet.
You're from the Midwest, or?
Yes.
So, Ohio. Where in Ohio?
Toledo, Ohio.
Toledo, okay. Yeah. And your husband is from?
Originally, he's from Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Canada.
Oh, he's Canadian.
Yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
That's great. I love Canadians.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. So let me say this to you as well. So you still do the personal training, or you don't? You're done with that?
I do a personal train in person for one woman, and we've worked together for 7 years. she's very special to me, and she's the only person that I'll do it for right now. But I do coach.
Well, I had a few people inquire or ask me to ask you because they wanted to work with you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because they're very inspired by you.
Yeah, I hate saying it, but my roster is definitely full at the moment, and I know not to take on anything else before the Olympia. That's a safe thing to do. I'm very lucky.
Now, if we can we talk about the beautiful Muscle Geisha?
Absolutely.
She's
I would love to.
gorgeous. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tell me about her. You really create an art. Everything you do is just, anyway, go ahead.
Oh, wow. That is actually exactly what it is. My body is my art, and to be able to perform with that, for my fans and for myself, like, so I can look back on this in 20 years and see like how far I've come and the things that I did. That is absolutely a huge side of me, because I think a lot of women will relate that you are either an athlete or you can be sexy. And never the two will meet. And boy, does like people will really try to separate that because they think there's shame, it's going to damage your reputation. I love that bodybuilding is a lot more accepting of performance art. And it took me, I'm 38, and it took me a few years to get here, but I feel like that's right where I belong. My fans are amazing. I have such loyal followers and people who appreciate what I create that, you would think like, oh, well, like the world's harsh, but these people like really care how you're doing. They want to help support you to get to where you're going, and they just love to see it develop and to be part of it and be close to it. And that is, that's really special to me too.
You know what I like about you too, in regards to the fans, is that you really you make them feel like family. You make them feel like they're somebody, whereas
I definitely care.
Yeah, you definitely care. Or there's other people who are just rude. Don't even give them the time of day. I see this online. I see this at shows. What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely understand that sometimes you need your space, but.
But I mean, they're not even disrespectful.
I think one of my longtime friends and gym owner, Jimmy Momini, was like, always be approachable. Always be approachable. If someone's got a question on diet, like help them. These people are coming to you to hear you speak on your advice, no matter how it might be the same question, but they're asking you, and they could ask anybody. So that was instilled in me, and also no one has to stop and give you a compliment. They didn't have to do that. It's nice that they took the time out of their day to come over and be like, you look amazing. I've never seen anything like this. And I know that, like, as a female bodybuilder, when you walk in a room, people are going to feel something. Sometimes you can sense the ego tension. Sometimes you can sense the awe. Sometimes you can sense the jealousy or the disgust. Sure. I mean, it's a vast array of things of energy that can kind of come towards you. But when people stop and compliment you on the years of hard work and wonder how you did it, I think that resonates a little bit inside them. And then, of course, you get the stories back on what they did or do, and that's how it's the only way I can talk to people. I couldn't talk to people before I did this.
Why?
Just super shy.
And bodybuilding brought it out of you? Were you not shy?
Yeah.
Stage performing and all that stuff?
Just being able to teach. Because I did a lot of like manual labor jobs, like outside, heavy work.
Like what?
I worked in horticulture.
Oh, wow.
So, like running big tractor equipment, boom lifts,
Do you have videos
earth
of that?
movers. Oh yeah.
Listen, you gotta put this on the your website.
I would be way up above the trees and, taking like pictures of the sunrise.
Sure.
So I really enjoyed that job. Some days it's so cold you felt the joy just seep out of you. But I went from that to studying, and then I put myself in with people, which was so hard because I didn't want to. Being close to anybody was so uncomfortable, but I had something to teach. And I had never been coached. And to this day, something I should add about Brandon is that I let him do my programming. Or I had him do my programming, and I have never let anybody but one other person, Shane Sweat, do my programming for bodybuilding because it was my thing. Mm-hmm. No one was ever going to touch that or say that they built that. Nobody was going to touch it.
That's a lot of trust you put into him.
So, I mean, I feel like that's something he
That's
should know. Is that
that's a huge...
This is, if I'm hard to coach, it's because I've never been like,
Right.
I've never done programming with people. But, you know, being able to teach others what I loved, you know, really, really changed me. Yeah.
So have you always had have you always had an artistic background, or this again just happened with the bodybuilding?
Yeah.
You always had an artistic
wasn't an athlete as a kid. Mm-hmm. You know, tried a few things, just couldn't communicate through it. But yeah, always some kind of art, small projects, you know, like, but this became my thing. Like, this was going to be the creation that I made.
If you didn't go into bodybuilding or competing, where do you see yourself?
I don't know. I have nothing ever called to me like this does. No, nothing.
So let's put this out there. Let's just say Andrea's off, and you're toe and toe with her, and they're, you know, Steve Weinberger, Sandy are posing you down, pose, working you. You're sweating, everything. It's down to the nitty gritty, and then all of a sudden, of course, they call out the winner first. They call your name. What are you going to do? I mean, what's going to go through your head at that moment? You're going to break down and cry? I'm just trying to...
Yeah, probably.
Get in that zone.
Oh, man. I am an emotional person, mm-hmm. and this has been such... Like I said, this has saved me mm-hmm. over and over again. And every time that I've won, and every time that, you know, like that run just kept getting better and kept getting better. It was like, this is what you're meant to do. Mm-hmm. And that kind of validation that I did this for myself and that I chose to save myself, that I did this to find my wholeness, to find out what kind of woman I am, you know, that would be the greatest reward of all time.
And
I can't.
Well, it'd be a big deal. I mean, anything's possible, right?
Yes.
Anything. So let me say this. This is the next. Yeah. The next thing I have to ask you is, now that you're in that role, okay, how are you going to promote women's bodybuilding?
Well, I'm going to call you, because I definitely am going to need some support. Like, I don't have like a pre-set up system. No, I don't. My husband helps me, but he's
well, I mean, like,
he manages me a little bit, but I don't really have a whole, you know, anything really pre-set up. So I would definitely be open to like suggestions on that, because it's such a big deal. It needs to be out there. Mm-hmm. And I do also, through all of this, want to be the kind of person that can handle it. I'm trying to build her right now, is to be ready to take on those things and be an ambassador.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, are you going to be more like out there and at the shows speaking for people, because that is what we need. Like, I'm sure you see, like at the shows earlier this year, we didn't have a lot of women competing. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because they're waiting till late in the year, which probably is the case because it's too early. What can we do? I'm just putting that Miss Olympia role. What would you suggest that we do to bring more women bodybuilders into the sport, even from an amateur level?
I think it's kind of like how we did it. It's like you welcome them in, bring them in the fold, let them know that there's a place for them, you know, and that it's something worth working for. You know, like for me, all I wanted to do was to continue to grow, so it was definitely the right time for me. Like I knew that ultimately this is where I would hopefully be. You know, I've still got some growing to do, but like that welcomeness, that inclusivity, and showing them, like, showing them where it is that they could go. Like, what are the shows that you want to do? You know, like how can we change your training? Is this something that you want to do?
Sure.
We are a very rare breed, so that does kind of make it a little bit hard, because we are a very specific kind of person that want to do this. So you can't. A lot of people don't necessarily want to come here. But, you know, finding those of us that do and that are ready, I mean, that just comes from, like you said, continuing to promote the sport and showing how much women's bodybuilding is being loved right now. Because there's still that problem of it being eliminated from the stage for 6 years.
Yeah.
And people are like, they still think that was the right thing. So
No.
there's a lot of unfortunate opinions about that.
Oh, sure.
And I think that if we can overcome that from the crowd and get to the women that really are curious, that we're not going to listen to them. You're always going to have your tribe here. Like if you want to do this, like you will be welcomed. And I've never heard of anybody, I don't know of anybody that has beef with anybody else in women's bodybuilding.
Sure.
You're so tight.
Right.
So you're not coming into something that's like super competitive and mean and like it's just going to be another show. Like this is an honorable place to compete.
Correct. And then we have Jake Wood, Wings of Strength, who are very supportive of women's bodybuilding. People like yourself and others, and Andrea Shaw, who promote women's bodybuilding in your way, very positive. Because again, with you, you're always encouraging others. You're always so helpful with other people. You always push that kindness out there too, which is a blessing. So I know you got to get ready for your Olympia prep. You flew in here. I got to ask though, when are we going to see Jamie on stage? Has he competed powerlifting or because he's
He
pretty
is a
built?
long distance cyclist, actually.
Oh wow!
So
I would never guess.
He would go out and ride a metric century every weekend,
Oh,
and
my
he did
goodness.
a 200-mile ride once. So he does stuff that I can never do.
Yeah, I can't.
I tried to do 9 miles once and was just angered
I would
him.
be done.
But yeah, that's his sport. So he's
cool.
the road cycling, hybrid road, off-road, like gravel bike riding.
Okay, that's why he's such great calves.
He has endurance. He's got the stamina. He's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see him on stage.
He will be there for me in the crowd, making sure that I'm doing what I need to do.
Now, do you ever kill him with the diet and the prepping?
No.
No, it's
No.
just a piece of cake.
No.
Does he make your meals? You make your own
He
meals?
does help me with like cooking protein, like
Are you
his grilled
specific?
food is just
So you're
so
okay
good.
with him cooking your food? It's not like, no, don't cook it. I'll cook it 'cause I know I want it this way and that way.
no.
I love that.
No, I mean he generally doesn't like bring things in the house that he knows that I might want. So, but I mean he figures out ways to do his own thing, and I'm from the beginning. I'm like, I know I'm not going to be taking any of this out on anybody.
Right.
Like you've got to have enough discipline to not, carb rage on people or ask them, why are you not
Carb
like,
rage.
like, oh, you've got something that I want. Why would you do that? Like, it's some kind of personal offense. Like, just let people do. And it goes away. Like you have to inoculate yourself from those things.
I won't
We
mention
do well.
his name, but I'll tell you a funny bodybuilding carb story.
I would love it.
A friend was eating a hamburger. There's a guy who's competing low in carbs. The bodybuilder goes up to the guy, takes the burger, smashes it in his face, like that. And, he's just like, what the? Seriously. And the guy just gets up and walks off. And I'm like, what an asshole.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
Because he was going through that carb
So
rage.
yeah, and you're just in it. I mean, I get it. You get angry.
He wasn't doing
You're
it
just
on
so
purpose. He's just
mad.
eating, enjoying his burger. He's like smashing it in his face. It's all over his shirt and everything.
I'm sure
like,
later on he was like, "Wow, I lost my," like later on.
No, he didn't care.
He didn't care.
He didn't care. Well, listen,
Wow.
sweetie. I know you got to go places. You and your hubby got to do your thing for the Olympia. I'm going to let you sign off. You can say whatever you want. Keep it clean. Whatever you want to your family, fans, sponsors. Give us the jingle for Instagram and all your Muscle Geisha and all that good stuff.
All right, you can find all of my performance art at musclegeisha.com. And I really want to thank my suit sponsor, Vandala Costumes, who's Kira Jones. You can find her through Instagram and Facebook. My coach, Brandon Ray, thank you so much. Shout out to Main Street Barbell. You guys have helped me make me who I am. Thank you to my mom, dad, my husband, my sister for being there endlessly with support and just watching me grow through this. Never saying that there was something that I couldn't do. That means the world. I'm just so grateful to be here. I'm ready for the Olympia.
You're so beautiful.
Thank
Just want
you.
to tell you that. You just
Thank
have
you.
you have great skin. It's very pretty. Okay, I'm fangirling. You guys, we got to go, but It was a pleasure having the beautiful Angela Yo, 2022 Chicago Pro champ. Now she's going to the Olympia. We can't wait to see what she's going to reveal to us. Can you give us an idea of your posing routine?
It's in pieces right now. It's in pieces, and they're kind of moving around every day. So that's
right.
driving me nuts. That's the hardest part for me.
Oh, I'm sure. Guys, get your tickets, MrOlympia.com. Don't miss the women's bodybuilding Miss Olympia. All right, guys. Fit Rockstar signing off.